Hey everybody, Peter Mancuso here from a little show called Now That's What I Call a Franchise. Maybe you've heard of it. Before getting into this week's episode, I just wanted to talk about some stuff going on. We record our episodes, months in advance, but as of the release of this episode, both the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild have gone on strike against basically all of mainstream Hollywood, which is represented by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Basically, both unions are demanding their fair share of the profits that their hard work and dedication produces for these, multinational media conglomerates and their overpaid CEOs. Now, when SAG went on strike, there were some questions around what counted as promotion, something that could be considered crossing the picket line. And there's been a lot of confusion and misinformation and mixed signals about this, particularly for non-union members, even just covering older films released by these struck companies. And on our show, that's all we do, right? We've covered 3 franchises owned by Disney, which I think speaks volumes about the state of the industry. And now we're focusing on Batman, which of course is owned by Warner Brothers. So what do? Well, after sifting through all the information the best we could, we've decided to continue our release schedule as planned. We're not doing this out of laziness. If anything, delaying our schedule would actually give us more time that we desperately need to watch these films and record our thoughts. But by releasing our episodes as planned, we at least have the chance to insert this intro and make it clear in no uncertain terms, Viviana and I and the New Arts Workshop stand with workers. Above and below the line, striking or not, unionized or not. And we're not going to remove this intro from our episodes until the studios satisfy the union's demands. If you want to help the cause, post about it on social media or donate to each union's respective strike funds. Alone, we can't do anything. Together, we can change everything. All right, I'm getting off my soapbox now. Time for the show. You're listening to the New Artist Workshop.
Honey, I'm home! Oh, I forgot. I'm not married.
Just the pussy I've been looking for.
Welcome back to your favorite podcast. Now that's what I call a franchise. I'm Peter Mancuso.
And I'm Viviana Metzger, and this is the show where Peter and I pick a film franchise and go through every single installment, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And to be clear, we're defining a franchise as a series of films with at least 4 entries. So, Viviana, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about the 1992 film Batman Returns. And of course, this is your one and only spoiler warning. If you haven't watched the movie, go do that before listening. It is not on HBO Max anymore. It is now on Max.
Yes.
So yeah.
Today, the day that we're recording this,
today is the day.
They've officially changed to Max. It'd be hilarious if they revert the name back.
like IHOP.
IHOP. Though I believe that was just a publicity stunt. I believe, it was always, they were always gonna put it back. It was just to get people interested in their burgers, which I've had, not good.
No,
they're not very good at all.
Their food is not good. It's
there was a whole comedy bit I saw about if you go to IHOP and order a steak, there's something and then you're upset this wasn't really meat. It's we have one cook option, cooked. There's no rare. There's no medium well.
It's fine. It's just old people food, I like the turkey sandwich. If I'm not gonna get, pancakes, I'll get the turkey sandwich.
Well, it's great to go after if you were in high school theater going to the IHOP because they serve breakfast all day.
Well, where I went is on the free pancake day. You get a free stack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, Vivian, why don't you read
the
header-boxed blurb.
Here is the letterboxed blurb. Having defeated the Joker, Batman now faces the Penguin, a warped and deformed individual who is intent on being accepted into Gotham society with the help of Max Schreck, a crooked businessman, whom he coerces into helping him does he? Whom he coerces into helping him run for the position of mayor of Gotham. This is a run-on sentence. While they both attempt to frame Batman in a different light.
Period.
Batman must attempt to clear his name, all while also deciding just what must be done with the mysterious Catwoman slinking about.
That's a very long letterbox.
That is very long and nothing to do with the movie.
Well, no, it has to do with the movie.
Well, yeah, it has to do with the movie.
I like how it's like 90% like the Penguin, and then it's like, oh yeah, and also Catwoman's slinking about. Slinking about. While also deciding just what must be done.
Because he can't decide whether to bork her, whether to, turn her over to the feds. He can't decide.
All of the above.
All of the above. Can I turn her over to the feds and get a conjugal visit?
So this is the first one. Again, I'm just ignoring you. Again, this is I think we talked about this last week. This is the first franchise that we're doing that has been consistently rebooted multiple times. Like with X-Men, there was recasting, but they were meant to be like the younger versions of the characters. Yes. Whereas this is like, this is not meant to be in the same continuity as like anything else, right? But this particular film happens to be it's the first one that we've watched that's like a direct sequel to a previous one. Every single other one,
and it refers to the first one too.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's not just like, oh, the cast is the same and the director's the same. Like it not as directly as I would have liked, but it does reference things that happened in the first movie. Mm-hmm. But why don't I talk a little bit about like the basic info here? Just some...
Sure.
So the crew, so to speak.
Yes. Talk about how they brought Tim back.
Yeah, so Tim Burton's back directing.
He didn't seem too enthusiastic the first time, so I'm surprised he's back.
I think I talked about this in my research or trivia. He prefers this one over the last one.
Okay.
Easily, yeah. And I think that makes sense because this one's a lot more... Like, I feel him more in this. Between the last one and this one, he had directed Edward Scissorhands, which was like a huge...
Of course.
I don't know how big of a hit it was critically or commercially, but like, when you talk about Tim Burton's filmography, that's always like one of the first ones people bring up.
Of course, yeah.
So he was definitely becoming the Tim Burton that we know. Right, by this point, right?
He was evolving into Tim.
It was written by a guy named Daniel Waters, who I don't think was involved with the first film. He wrote Heathers.
Fuck Heathers.
I know you have a big beef against Heathers. I think it's good. I think it's overrated, but you like hate
fucking
Heathers.
Hate Heathers. Well, okay, to be fair, I've never seen the play, but I have seen the movie Fuck Heathers. So
why don't you like for our audience? Why don't you like Heathers?
There's just so many things I can't even get.
You come for Batman Returns, you stay for the Heathers hate. That's what our show's about.
It's just so ridiculous with no explanations and no. But it's not just like ridiculous, like oh ha ha ha, or like extravagant or whatever, or whimsical. It's so dramatically dark and with no explanation as to anything. You walk in on your kid trying to kill themselves, and you don't do anything. You just leave. Hello, okay, goodbye. Or then there's a whole situation with the boy, the slating boy, the slater.
Christian Slater.
Yes.
The slating boy. Was he assistant camera? Scene 3, take 1.
and with the whole school situation.
It's really hard to watch that movie now because, like, the climax... Because it's meant to be a dark comedy, but the climax is him, basically like a bomb at a high school.
Which I usually love. Which I usually, am really drawn to dark comedies because it's, it's funny, but it's, things that, are... We can see, it's let's not sugarcoat it, whatever, right? But, I don't know, something about this movie, it just... Then doesn't he lose some fingers or something at the end? It's, very strange.
Anyway,
shoots him or something.
Anyway, it's written by Daniel Waters, who wrote Heathers. It's also produced by Tim Burton and Denise Novi. Novi also produced Heathers, and she had co-produced Edward Scissorhands. So that's how she kind of got involved. Distributed once again by Warner Brothers. It was released in June of 1992. Despite being a Christmas film kind, like set at Christmas time.
Very strange.
But it's not unprecedented. There have been movies before and since that were set at Christmas.
No, I
that were
know,
released
but
in the summer.
you would just think like maybe November, or like December, January. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was made for about $65 million and grossed $267 million at the box office. So it was more expensive than the last one, and also made less money. So
But it seems they still made their money back.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I would still say it made a profit in a sense. Had you seen this one before? Because this is my first time seeing. I had never seen.
You've never seen this?
I had never seen this before.
What? No. Are you serious?
I'm 100%. Why would I lie?
No, that's just even
If anything, I would lie about seeing it.
That's crazy.
To get cred. I'd never seen this one. Well, because don't forget, even as a kid, I didn't really like the last one. Mm-hmm. So it's not like as I got older.
Wait, I forgot. So you saw the last one, right?
Well, yeah, like one time when I was a kid.
Yeah. Okay, but then you had no interest to go see this.
To revisit that version of the character, really. So
interesting. No, yeah, I've seen this before. I don't think I remembered a lot of the specifics, but like I said in the last one, I think I was kind of mixing the two together.
As you're wont to do. With all these films we've watched.
Of course, I mean, it's the same.
Is the classic, need I bring up, is that the one with the bridge? From X, when we talked about X-Men.
But, of course I remember, because, like Catwoman and Penguin, and, watching it.
Lots of characters.
Back.
Lots of Batman characters.
Yeah.
Because last one, it was basically just Joker.
Yeah.
But this one, it has Catwoman and Penguin. And Max Schreck, but he's not from the comics, from what I understand.
Oh, he's not.
Okay, he's an original character.
Yeah.
Played by Christopher Walken, who I did not know was in this movie. Until we started watching it.
Chicken blood.
It did his iconic performance in Kangaroo. What he was known for.
Kangaroo Jack.
Kangaroo Jack.
Being the mean guy in Kangaroo Jack.
The stepdad, yeah.
The stepdad. But yeah, so I'd seen it before. I guess felt good. I don't know. I don't really remember much. But I do remember it being a thing,
Yeah.
and I think thinking more of that one instead of the first one.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember liking this movie before, or you just knew you saw it, but you don't remember?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I like Penguin just as a character. So.
Well, because you are Penguin. That's
I am a penguin. Yeah. So and then also Catwoman, because I've seen the other Catwomans too, so it's
Yeah.
it just I'm a cinephile, whatever.
Well, we're kind of jumping out of order here, but I'm curious, right? Because again, with this, we have the opportunity to compare different versions of these characters.
Yeah.
It's not a great comparison because, as we discussed with the Adam West one, it's kind of self-parody in a way. Mm-hmm. But so how do you think these versions of Catwoman and Penguin compare to those from the Adam West one?
Oh, interesting.
I think these are somehow more silly. Somehow.
Oh, well...
it's visually very dark and gritty, but, they're really, playing to the back row, which I kind of like.
Yeah,
They're just, completely... Danny DeVito, I wrote in my notes, completely disappears into the role. I really think. It's not just because he has, enough makeup to make him not look like Danny DeVito.
He looks so scary.
I think he does a good job of...
him looking that scary.
Yeah, he is pretty... Yeah, because they make him, really, pale, too, so he just kind of looks like a corpse. Everyone looks like a corpse in this movie.
Yeah, everyone looks like a corpse. Both in the first one, who is it, the petty thieves, or, the...
They did
drug
look
dealers, or I don't know, whatever. The two guys on the roof, the
muggers.
Yeah, I literally asked you 3 times. I was like, why do they look like zombies? Why did they look dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that comes back for this one too. I mean, at one point, Selena's actually dead. But
yeah, and we'll get into it because I'm still really confused, what the logic is behind her, her surviving that fall, and I guess cats licking her wounds brings her. Are they magical cats? Are they radioactive cats?
I don't know.
Was she not really dead? They just woke her. Up? I don't
she was
understand.
bitch.
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's the same thing with like Halle Berry. Like they just lick her and then like, I don't know. I don't really know.
Is that all it takes? Getting licked?
I guess so. I guess they have magical spit. Anywho,
So when she licks Batman across his
Ew.
whole face, why doesn't he get cat powers? Has to be from the source?
He's already a bat, yes, and it's not.
He doesn't have
from
any
the source.
powers.
And it's not from the source.
Okay.
It's like a vampire. I don't know. I think I like maybe Penguin more in this one, and then or no. Wait. I don't know. Wait.
You don't have to say which one you like more, but just comparing them, like how they're different. Again, I feel like
Honestly, well, this Penguin is a lot more scarier, obviously, and this one is with Danny DeVito, right? So it's more like not to, you know, not as an insult or anything, but just as an observation.
he's small, whereas the other guy was just
small,
like a
yeah. So it's like more of a caricature.
caricature, yeah.
Character.
Okay.
Anyway, whereas like the other guy was just like a silly, like, you know,
man, just
man-sized man. I don't know.
man-sized man.
I don't know. Typical man size. And I think it's funny because well, I guess he does have actual people in this movie, but his goons are actual penguins. And I thought that was
Some of
silly.
them, yeah.
I
Some
thought
of
that
them.
was silly.
He's like made friends with the penguins, and yeah, so.
And I'm a little confused about his situation. Like, so is he like the original Shark Boy? Like, did these penguins raise him?
I don't know. That's a thing that we'll talk about. Like, so in the comics, he's just like an English gangster.
Oh, he's English.
He's meant to be British, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe. Oswald Cobblepot,
Well, yeah, okay.
right? They said it's like the most English name you can have, right? Who I believe is like derisively known as the Penguin because he kind of acts like a penguin. But Tim Burton was like, we're gonna make him like a penguin mutant guy.
This man is a penguin. He's got penguin hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I like this version, although I do find him a little disturbing. Like he's like very, like, I don't know, scary looking. But I think I do also like the other Batman. I mean the other Penguin.
Burgess Meredith was that actor, I believe his name was.
For Catwoman, I honestly don't know because like the first one was such a subtle performance, but it was like so suave, like, and
they
like,
played her more like a
undertone.
suave. Well, because in that one she's just straight villain.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, she's
This one, it's like very campy.
and
but,
you like understand where she's coming from more. Like she has like a motivation that
Yeah.
she's not evil. She's just like doing the wrong thing for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Right? Is that like what you right?
Yeah. Well, I think
Like she's breaking the law, but the point she's more like an anti-hero.
Yeah,
in
I think
this.
canonically she's an anti-hero. That's why, you know, like he kind of has a thing for her, but also they kind of fight, you know.
That's like the whole thing with their their relationship,
With
not
the
just in this movie,
Anne
but other
Hathaway one,
versions.
right?
Yeah, there's a version where Anne Hathaway,
Where
right?
she's like stealing something, and then
There's like that tension, right, where it's like they're kind of perfect for one another,
yeah.
but they just can't reconcile their difference of like how to go about what they do.
Very poetic, very, you know, comparable to American politics.
So why don't we talk a little bit about the background on this film, shall I?
Sure.
So
get into it.
So after the success of the last film, a sequel was considered inevitable. Warner Brothers Pictures had confidence in its potential and was discussing sequels by late 1989. So it was pretty much like obvious, like it was so, you know, such a huge culture. We talked about like Batmania, like it seemed inevitable. It was basically like we're definitely gonna do it. Despite pressure from Warner Brothers to finalize the script and begin filming, Batman director Tim Burton remained uncertain about directing a sequel. He described it as a, quote, dumbfounded idea, end quote, especially before Batman's performance was analyzed. Like, you know, because it was still pretty fresh. Like, I think it was still in theaters, basically, and they were like, let's make a sequel.
Oh, yeah.
And he was also just generally opposed to sequels. Quote, sequels are only worthwhile if they give you the opportunity to do something new and interesting. It has to go beyond that, really, because you do the first for the thrill of the unknown. A sequel wipes all that out, so you must explore the next level. Yes, so I think he was very trepidatious about, like, are we just going to do the same? Are we just going to do it again, but like a different story? Or are we, like, really going to bring something new to the table? Mm-hmm. Batman writer Sam Hamm, who was one of the writers of the last one, if you remember. Mm-hmm. His initial story idea for a sequel expanded the character of District Attorney Harvey Dent, who was played in the last one by Billy D. Williams, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And kind of the film would cover his descent, like him becoming Two-Face. Okay. Warner Brothers wanted the main villain to be the Penguin, however, and Hamm believed that the studio saw the character as Batman's most prominent enemy after the Joker. Which is interesting. Like, if you think of, like, the number 2 Batman villain, I don't know if I think of the Penguin. I think the Riddler, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, in terms of, like, who's best suited for... Well, what's interesting about Batman, and we'll talk about this probably, and we'll probably repeat ourselves a lot, is that, like, all the the best Batman villains are kind of, like, a warped reflection of Batman. Like, what he could be if he went down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Right, so Joker kind of represents like Bruce Wayne's like kind of mentally ill, you know what I mean? Like to even be doing all this.
He's very mentally ill.
So it's like the Joker's kind of like a warped version of like that potential.
Yeah, kind
the
of
Penguin's
like
the Penguin because he's like he's another like heir to a rich family. Like he could be
the unchecked mania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like all of them are kind of like they're and Batman's the world's greatest detective. So the Riddler's kind of like a warped version of like him using his like intelligence for evil, like, you know what I mean? So,
and he's always covered up, and he can't really express sexiness. So Catwoman is, what he could be.
Yeah. Catwoman was added because Burton and Hamm were interested in the character. Catwoman was more overtly sexualized, wore bondage gear, and nonchalantly murdered groups of men in their original idea for the story. Nice. Though she does kind of wear bondage, like that leather.
Yeah, also, she made that whole suit from that one little dress.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So. That's absolutely ridiculous.
But yeah, well, something that I want to say is, I think this is just about the silliest movie I have ever seen. Like,
ever seen? Come on, the Adam West one was silly. He's running with the bomb for 3 minutes.
Okay, yes, but I just mean like. It looks dark, like you were saying, but
it's not trying to be silly. I see what you're saying.
It's just so silly. It's like all the top talent in Hollywood was like, how can we, like, what can we do to make the silliest movie? And then sprinkled in like crudeness and like.
There is a weird tone thing where it's
very strange.
I think that was an issue when it came out. Was that especially the first one was certainly dark and we talked about it.
Yeah.
But it played really well with kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it did really well in that demographic.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of kids then went to go see this movie. And it's, on one hand, more goofy, but then on the other hand, also darker and more adult.
Yeah.
In terms of sometimes the dialogue is very innuendo-based or kind of, like, sexual or graphic, like, inappropriate, I would use the word.
Very, or overtly, yeah, sometimes.
The Penguin would not do well Me Too.
No.
Hashtag Me Too. He's sexually harassing
which is so weird, because I do not remember that bit of him, but I guess
when you're a kid, it just goes over your head.
No,
you don't
that's
even
true.
notice.
Yeah. Yeah, like one of the reasons that, like, my mom wouldn't want me to watch, like, Shrek or something when I was a kid, but I was like, what do you mean it's inappropriate? He's just living in a swamp!
He's just fucking green, Mom!
But yeah, that I did notice that very strange tone situation. And like both.
I'm happy to report there's no Prince musical sequence.
No.
I will say.
No. But yeah, it goes from very goofy to strangely sexual, and then also kind of violent, and
like I could see this being scary for a kid and a kid, but more importantly, a kid in 1992. Because I feel like we're more desensitized because of like
No, that's terrifying.
Like,
she
r/watch people die is a thing that middle school boys would watch at sleepovers. Do you know what I mean? Like videos on Reddit of actual people like dying.
Why would they do that?
Because it's on the internet. It just can. You know what I mean? Like so my point is that I feel like especially like a kid in 1992,
she's falling out
it's
the
kind of
fucking
scary.
building. Yeah. It's scary.
Later, Shrek gets like electrocuted, and then he finds his body, and he's like a petrified skeleton, kind of, but he almost looks like the Scream like painting. He's like, whoa!
No, he looks like.
It was kind of scary. Even me, I was like, whoa, Jesus.
Well, I wasn't expecting him to be there.
Yeah.
But now that he's there, it kind of reminded me of in Home Alone 2.
When he turns into a skeleton,
skeleton.
briefly, yeah. Again, movies where people get electrocuted and you see their skeleton briefly, 5 out of 5. 10 out of 10.
But yeah, just some like weird things to kind of like amplify the characters, but like just seemed strange. Like, why was she trying to eat his bird? Like I know she was like trying to. I know why. Like she was like trying to, like use.
It was a power move.
Yeah, it was a power move. It was a scare tactic.
You've never done that in a meeting before? Eat someone's pet bird?
Put someone's bird in my mouth?
Yes.
No.
What? What do you mean?
Also, since when does Miss Kitty just follow her around to be a liability?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I really don't understand like the
one
cat
time.
element. I've never seen the Halle Berry one, and we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Just by default, some would maybe argue I should have even included it, but I consider Catwoman a Batman character. Yeah. So it's like kind of part of that franchise. So,
right,
but I don't know of any other
like,
versions of Catwoman where
together,
she has
right?
special Catwoman powers. I always just assumed she was just like naturally. Well, other versions of her, like the Anne Hathaway one and the Zoe Kravitz one, they're just like naturally limber. Like they're not. They don't have any powers or anything. Or...
Oh, it was very strange in this one because she just seemed like a normal lady, and then all of a sudden she had like these like crazy gymnastic like skills. She did like just continuous backflips across
She probably
the
did
street.
about 15 backflips in a row.
Can't just walk down the street
or run.
Prowl down the street.
Yeah.
You're all out of breath.
But
well, I wonder why.
back to the.
But with Halle Berry, I think she also gets like some similar powers. Like
it's like kind of magical-ish.
Kind of. Yeah, it's like more emphasized. I think because like I think at one point she like wakes up, like she has like a little nook, like a little cutout in her wall or something. She like sleeps there, like wakes up there, like. She's like 6 feet off the ground, and it's like she's like,
So back to the development. So Sam Hamm, I fucking love his name.
Sam Hamm.
He wrote 2 drafts of like potential sequel scripts, but they failed to renew Burton's interest, and the director instead concentrated on directing Edward Scissorhands, which came out in 1990, and writing The Nightmare Before Christmas. For context, so that was like originally a short story he wrote. Okay. But so he didn't direct that movie. Henry Selick directed it. But he produced it. He was basically like backseat directing. Oh, that's not fair. Henry Selick is a really great stop motion. Henry Selick directed Wendell and Wild, which came out recently. He directed Coraline. So he's an I don't want to diminish him,
job, Henry.
But it's a shame because people usually like just assume Tim Burton directed Night Before Christmas, but he wrote and produced
it.
But
Tim Burton production or something like that. Yeah.
So he was really more focused on doing that stuff than a Batman sequel. But he was then later confirmed to direct the sequel in January of 91, with filming scheduled to begin later that year for a 1992 release date. He agreed to return if he received creative control of the sequel. Interesting. Burton considered Batman, the original one, the least favorite of his films up to that point, describing it as, quote, a little boring at times, end quote. According to Denise Novi, who is his longtime producer, quote, only about 50% of Batman, the last film, was Burton. The studio wanted Batman Returns to be more of a Tim Burton movie. A weirder movie, but also more hip and fun. Burton replaced key Batman crew with some of his former collaborators. So really at this point, he's like, I'm bringing in my people.
Yeah, he's like, if you want me to do it, I'm doing it my way.
Exactly. And it seems like that's what they wanted. It seemed. Thank you, Frank Sinatra. It seems like that's kind of what they wanted too. They wanted him to make his version.
They were willing to take a bigger risk. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because he kind of proved himself. Like he delivered. And then again, Beetlejuice was a big success. Batman was a big success. Edward Scissorhands, I believe.
He's got a good track record.
He proven himself
of the kind of like.
Of delivering,
heartfelt kind of dark comedy type of situation. So
Daniel Waters was hired to replace Ham. Burton wanted someone with no emotional attachment to Batman.
Goodbye, Ham.
And he liked Waters' script for the dark comedy Heathers, which, like it or not, you kind of see why he would like that.
No, yeah, I understand.
Like I always sometimes think Heathers is like a Tim Burton movie for some reason. Well, Winona Ryder's in it, and
I guess so. Yeah,
right?
They did work together a lot.
Heather, so yeah, Waters, Burton liked that tone of that script, that film, which matched Burton's intended tone and creative direction. Burton reportedly disliked Batman producer John Peters, demoted him to from the original film. He demoted him to executive producer of this film and effectively barred him from the set. But I guess Peter Goober made it out okay. I don't know.
How you doing?
I have nothing about Peter Goober.
How you doing, Goob?
Gooby.
No, yeah, I definitely see the similarities and, the comparison, but I think it's just like, I think for me, just like, I mean, I haven't watched it in a while because of my firm hatred, but, like, I think for me, it has all the topical things, but there's nothing to ground it. So that's why it just seems so ridiculous, but like in a very insensitive way to just like.
We're back on Heathers.
Yeah.
Enough with the Heathers. Get it.
Just to go back to back of jokes and humor and
it was a dark comedy.
Levity with such dark things.
Art is supposed to challenge the status quo.
I understand
of what's acceptable. And you're putting guardrails on art.
No, I think it's irresponsible because there's no...
This was a pre-Columbine, too, like I was saying before.
Well, sure. I still think it's irresponsible to not have anything to weigh it down. When it's just joke after joke after joke, it's like, ha ha ha, this is so funny.
Ho, ho, ho.
Children being mentally ill and depressed.
Quick, what? I just sang a tune. What Tim Burton movie is that from?
What? Ho, ho, ho.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And they go, ho, ho, ho. Willy Wonka, the amazing chocolatier. Which is an underrated movie. I actually quite like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
That's a scary movie.
So they have the original Willy Wonka, then they made the remake, and they're making a Timothy Chalamet Wonka origin story. What? If they make a fourth one, we're covering the Chocolate Factory franchise. What? The Willy Wonka franchise. Though there was a Tom and Jerry version. But I consider that more of a crossover.
We will add that in.
So maybe we'll see if we'll count that as a fourth.
Because Tom and Jerry as a franchise is far too much.
Well, no, we would only do the feature films of Tom and Jerry. There's mostly just shorts.
Okay.
So I don't know how many Tom and Jerry movies there have been. It may be its own franchise.
There's that one, Tom and Jerry.
It just came out recently, like the last couple of years, yeah. But anyway, so when it came to the writing, right? So now they have this new writer, Waters is his last name.
First Ham and now Waters.
the waterbenders, ham benders.
Oh man, I can never
pastrami.
I can never unthink that Airbender meme of Katara bloodbending.
Of what? What, like an erection?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Katara bloodbending a man's penis to maintain an erection. Oh, Aang's penis. Okay, can we not talk about Aang's... Ong? As the M. Night Shyamalan live-action movie called him, Ong.
I'm sorry, it's just scarred into my brain.
Like I said, people who I boost these episodes on Facebook and stuff. So a lot of people, hopefully, are coming to these episodes like, they're like, oh, I like that movie. Let's hear what these random people have to say. I hope you're still listening. And I hope you know what you're getting it for. Anyway, so Burton's only instructions to Waters were that Catwoman had to be more than a, quote, sexy vixen. Right?
Yes. The feminist.
Well, I don't know if it was feminism. I think just narratively, that's another thing this is a sidebar here, but Like, that's always something that annoys me when people will be like, oh, like, I can't believe we have to change our scripts and we have to be all woke now. And it's like, 9 times out of 10, the writing choice that will, like, satisfy marginalized communities is also the better writing choice.
Yeah.
Usually. You know, it's like, it's narratively better to make her not a one-dimensional, like, sex object. Like, I don't understand why people are like, oh, they made it. She, like,
There's a
like the Looney Tunes, was it like Lola Bunny?
Ugh,
And
yeah.
people were mad for the new one because she wasn't as sexy anymore. It's like, bro, she's a bunny.
Like,
She's a bunny, bro.
yeah, bunny.
Anyway.
Don't say bunny, say rabbit.
Waters said that he did not like Batman. I think he means the original film. Had no interest in following its narrative threads or acknowledging the comic book histories of Batman Returns' characters. Quote, Burton and I never had a conversation about what are fans of the comic books going to think. We never thought about them. We really just were about the art. Which is funny because it's so different now, where it's so much like, what are the fans, like, they put little Easter eggs in. It's like, what are the fans going to like, right?
Like, comic books are for nerds.
He also had no interest in preventing Batman from killing people. The character should reflect contemporary, darker times, and the idea of a hero leaving captured villains for the authorities was outdated. Like the original serials where he leaves a little sticker on their forehead.
Yes.
Political and social satire was added, which I don't know, because he's running for mayor? That's kind of it. Like, that's pretty broad political satire.
Well, I don't know. I guess because what you said, what Watkins said.
What did Watkins say?
About, like, making an example. Creating something.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Creating an issue in order to step in.
Oh, yes. They make an allusion in the movie to, like, the Reichstag fire and the Gulf of Tonkin incident. So, like, they're gonna, like, fabricate a crisis.
Yes.
So that the Penguin can solve the crisis.
Yeah.
Even though he's, like, behind it, right? So...
In his giant rubber ducky boat.
It's so menacing, and then you see it come out of the smoke, and it's like, this is both horrifying and hilarious at the same time. And this was actually influenced by, there was 2 episodes of the 60s show in which the Penguin runs for mayor. So there's, I don't know how much of the story itself is based off of that. I think probably not much at all, but like that general concept is had been done before, which is interesting.
Penguin for mayor.
Waters changed. Interesting, there's a lot of mayor stuff. In the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson one, the whole thing is that there's a mayoral race happening.
Mayor's a big thing.
Mayor's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, the mayor gets, like, blown up in The Dark Knight Rises. At the football game. Remember the football game?
No.
Oh, we'll get there. You'll forget by the time we get there.
Oh, shit.
That's like the 18th or... What?
Excuse me, sorry.
Viviana.
I know, I always tell you to do your thing.
Yes, what the heck?
And I have. It's on airplane mode and do not disturb, but I guess...
Alarms, I think they bypass it,
They
so you don't.
bypass it, yeah.
Waters changed Ham's Catwoman from a fetishy sexual fantasy femme fatale to a working-class, disenchanted secretary, writing her as an allegory of contemporary feminism.
Sure?
I
mean, she still kind of is, but I guess that's also just, like, the character?
Well, I think the key difference probably from an original version of her in, like, a previous
that
draft
she had
versus...
no job?
Well, no, just that she has a lot more agency in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's sexy, but that's, like, not the only thing about her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's still sexy.
Yeah.
But it's the idea that she's taking charge of her destiny, right? Like, when she becomes Catwoman.
Sure.
They definitely try to draw this, like borderline cartoonish contrast between... when she's Catwoman versus before, when she's like, oh, I'm just a single cat lady. Oh man, honey, I'm home. Oh yeah, I forgot, I'm not married. Womp womp.
Like, you see what I'm saying? It's just like the silliest movie. I'm just like, I don't know. It's just like so. Mm-hmm. I think her character was like poorly written, but
I think the whole movie was poorly written, frankly.
Yeah, but I mean,
better or worse than Vicky Vale in the last one.
Oh, true.
I think by default, her being like an actual character, she's better. But.
Yeah, I think better in some ways. But it's interesting that that's like a point, because I feel like that's kind of like Catwoman's whole shtick, no? Like, that she is in charge of her own, like.
No, yeah, no, that's what I think. That's really the point they wanted to make
But
her.
she's like an anti-hero, and so like she kind of does whatever she wants.
Like her main objective is to take down like a man that's wronged her, right? So it's like it's very much this idea. It's very much about like gender struggle.
Vindictive, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like.
Honey.
What?
You were right.
About what? What? I'm surely you're not researching things while I'm reading to you.
No.
Oh
my gosh.
You just had an epiphany? What?
So remember how I said the emperor penguins are probably just like puppets or whatever? But you were right. There were people in them.
Really? Yeah.
Yes, there's people credited as emperor penguins.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so some of the penguins are really big, and most of the time the scale
You can tell
they don't look big. I disagree. I couldn't tell until the very end when they're dumping his body into the water. Like the scale between him and I was like, are those adult men in a penguin costume?
They were really big in certain scenes, but
they did a good job of not like the scale was appropriate where you didn't always tell.
Yeah, they did a good job for the most part scaling it with like the actual penguins.
Like they made the set bigger to make them look like penguin size.
Yeah, but they also did use real penguins. I did notice that.
Yeah, I know there were some bad. I think that I have some stuff for my trivia, so put a pin in this because I actually looked up a funny trivia thing.
But yeah, interesting. Okay.
Burton and Waters eventually fell out. Disagreeing about the script and with Waters refusing to implement requested changes. Burton hired Wesley Strick to refine Waters' work, streamlining dialogue and lightening the tone. Warner Brothers executives mandated that Strick introduce a master plan for the Penguin, resulting in the addition of the plot to kidnap Gotham's firstborn sons and threaten the city with missiles, which is kind of like feels like an afterthought in the movie. Like it's just like, and I'm gonna also in the last 10 minutes of the movie, I'm gonna kidnap all these children and blow up the city.
Well, I guess they tried to set that up like beforehand because he was writing all the names down in the library or the record place, but like. That's why he was doing that. Like that's.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection until you just said it now.
Well, because he was like, "Oh, give me the names off," or no. He was like, "Oh, be careful with those names or whatever, like, and give them to me, like." You know.
Yeah.
It was very biblical, very Prince of Egypt type of situation going on.
Yeah, like I can see on one hand, the penguin not having any like overarching plan can be kind of like a problem narratively. But I think they went to the opposite extreme of like this really like shoehorned in like I'm gonna blow up the city.
It was a very I would say that it was a pretty stark change because I think I even said it at first when we were first introduced and he was talking, you know, and telling us what, you know, what he wanted and everything. I was like, is he really a bad guy? I mean, he just
wants his family.
Yeah, he just wants to be accepted into society and find his parents, you know, and say like, hello, why did you throw me away like a piece of trash?
The movie doesn't do a good job because like the way they present it.
Yeah.
Is it's being played almost like he's using the story of wanting to be accepted as like a facade in order for some ulterior motive. But it doesn't. But as the movie went on, I was like, oh, I guess he did wanna like be accepted by society, but he's also I feel like they didn't thread the needle on that.
That's why I thought that the Letterboxd blurb was interesting because I don't think that. The way it was presented to me, it didn't seem like he was forcing Shrek. It seemed like Shrek was forcing him and presenting all of the ideas to him.
Or like kind of putting the ideas in his head.
He was the one who brought him to the office full of, you know, staffers, like campaign staffers.
For his May World campaign,
you know, like he wasn't thinking about that, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wouldn't say that, at least in this version, he had like, that he was just straight up evil. Like, it just seemed to...
It was muddy. It just wasn't clear enough what his...
I mean, he definitely fell into it, I think, because, like, you know, he felt wronged and you know, despised and, you know, bad things.
Not despised!
He got bad reception from people, right? So, you know, he fell into it, but I don't think that was his original intention, or at least it didn't seem that way.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so Waters said, though, that the changes to his work were relatively minor. Though he was baffled by the Penguin's plot, saying, quote, "What the fuck is this shit?" He made a final revision to the shooting screenplay, and although Strick was on set for 4 months of filming and agreed upon rewriting, Waters was the only screenwriter credited. So poor Strick. In terms of casting, Keaton reprised his role as Bruce Wayne / Batman for double his $5 million salary for the first film.
What?
So
He's barely fucking in this movie.
that's the thing is like I feel like he's not really. How do we? Is he any better in this one versus the last one? Any worse, or is he like the same? I like him a little bit more here, almost because they're not more with him. And what I mean by that, it's like they're not trying to make me really buy that he's Bruce Wayne. I'm just like, okay, like most of the time he's Batman. Like when he's on screen, he's Batman. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, okay, I can buy him as Batman more than Bruce. I think. But, yeah, Burton wanted to cast Marlon Brando as the Penguin.
What? Too scary.
Who I think would have been kind of
but
great.
In a different way. Scary.
Yeah. But Warner Brothers preferred Dustin Hoffman, period. Sorry, I thought that was a comma in my notes. Preferred Dustin Hoffman, period. Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Of course.
And Robert De Niro were also considered, but Danny DeVito became the frontrunner when Waters re-envisioned the character as a deformed human-bird hybrid. So it's Waters who decided this.
Also, I'm sorry. They had him in that Long John suit. He looked like Humpty Dumpty.
He does look like Humpty Dumpty.
He was just a very round man with very skinny little legs.
DeVito was initially reluctant to accept the role until he was convinced by his close friend Jack Nicholson, who played the Joker in the last one.
Close friend?
Probably was like, look, I made a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
just do it. Ask for merchandising rights. Do it.
Yeah, just go have fun, honestly.
To convey his vision, Burton gave DeVito a picture he had painted of a diminutive character sitting on a red and white striped ball with the caption, "My name is Jimmy, but my friends call me the hideous penguin boy."
Oh, Tim.
He's so weird. Casting Selena Kyle / Catwoman was difficult. Annette Bening initially secured the role, but had to drop out after becoming pregnant. Talk about, so much for feminism.
Girl, you can't get pregnant after getting a role.
Actresses, I see you highlighting her name in the doc, so now you can Google her to see who Annette Bening is. She was in
she looks familiar.
What's it called? American Beauty. Remember the one with Kevin Spacey?
Yes.
She was the wife, I believe.
Yes.
She did lots of other stuff too, but that's like
she looks very familiar. But I can't recall from what. Anyways, continue.
Actresses who lobbied for the part included Ellen Barkin, Cher, Bridget Fonda, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Madonna, Julie Newmar, Lena Olin, Susan Sarandon, Raquel Welch, and more. The most prominent candidate, however, was Sean Young, who was cast as Vale in Batman before she was injured. So I guess in the previous film, she was supposed to be Vale, and then they had to recast her with Kim Basinger.
Shit, girl, why getting hurt?
Young went to Warner Brothers lot in a homemade Catwoman costume for an impromptu audition for Burton, and she reportedly hid under his desk.
That's terrifying.
Nevertheless, though, the role went to Michelle Pfeiffer, who was described as a proven actress who got along with Burton, although some publications said that it would stretch her acting abilities. I guess they weren't sure if she'd be able to pull off the character.
Oh, really?
I don't know what she had been up to that point, though, so I don't know where that's coming from.
Well, I know now, at least she's
very versatile,
well regarded.
Yeah. But back, this is 1990. This is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Pfeiffer had also been considered for Vicky Vale from the last film, but Keaton vetoed the casting because they had been romantically involved, and he believed that her presence would interfere with attempts to reconcile with his wife.
Oh.
So I guess it was a little off-screen. I guess they had been involved before the previous film, and then he was like, I'm trying to get back with my first wife. I can't be in a movie where she's my love interest. It's gonna make things hard. I guess maybe either he had finally got back together with his wife, or there was no hope of getting back together with his wife. So he was like, fine, let her be Catwoman. Let her be Selena Kyle.
Oh my gosh, it's so messy. Okay, so she was in Scarface, 83.
I forgot. Yeah, that's like her big thing.
Which is a Eastwick, 87.
Also with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, which we talked about in the last one. Let's see. Dangerous Liaisons, Frankie and Johnny.
She had yet to be in her biggest role as the lady in Hairspray.
The mean mom.
Who Christopher Walken's also in.
Yes! Tequila Sunrise.
Oof, I had a bad night of throwing up after drinking after having too many tequila sunrises. That's a drink.
I know. Are you being serious?
I'm 100% serious. I went to a bar once with some friends, and I had like 3 or 4 of them all within like 2 hours. And then I went back to my friend Christian. I went back to his place, and I threw up in his bathroom multiple times. Oh. Well, once or twice, but it was all within one sitting. Or should I say kneeling?
Okay.
Anyway, enough about talking about vomit.
Into the Night, 85, the Hollywood Nights,
Okay.
80, the Russia House, 90.
We don't need her whole filmography.
Love Field, 92. This is everything pre-92 or 93. Okay,
Thank you.
That's it. So, yeah, she's been in Ant-Man and Wasp.
Ant-Man and Wasp.
Post-92, of course.
Yes, of course. In terms of the music, Danny Elfman was initially reluctant to score Batman Returns because he was unhappy that his score was supplemented with pop music by Prince. Burton and Elfman fell out during production due to the stress of finishing Batman Returns on time, but they reconciled shortly afterward.
Phew. Okay, good.
In terms of...
They're like...
Well, he's been
thick as thieves, yeah. Oh, that would have changed so many movies going forward. Just
yeah.
The butterfly effect.
I wonder if he wrote the Willy Wonka song. I hope so.
Stop thinking about Willy Wonka.
In terms of like the production design, the production designer Anton Furst from the first film, who I believe they won or was nominated for Academy Award. Nice. So it was really good, right? He was replaced by Bo Welch, who understood Burton's visual intentions after previous collaborations on Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands. Welch found it difficult to create something new without deviating from Furst's award-winning work. The designs were intended to appear as a separate district of Gotham. If Batman took place on the east side, Batman Returns was set on the west side. Welch was influenced by German Expressionism, which I talked about last week. It is a film era where it's like very, very stylized sets. A very pointy is one element of it, but it was like very like
pointy.
Sure, right, sure. As well as neo-fascist architecture, including Nazi Germany era styles. American precisionism painters, and photos of the homeless living on the streets in affluent areas. So again, very much of its time, of like the dawn of the neoliberal area. The key element for Welch came early in design when he realized that he wanted to manipulate spaces to convey specific emotions. Welch, I think that's like the aim of every production designer, but okay. Emphasizing, size-wise? I guess it says here to emphasize vertical buildings. Emphasizing vertical buildings to convey a huge, overwhelmingly corrupt, decaying city filled with small people. So, like, the contrast between the architecture and the people. This film is about this alienating, disparate world we live in.
I did see that.
Marketing, in terms of marketing, franchising had not been considered an important aspect of the original film's release. However, after merchandise contributed about $500 million to its $1.5 billion total earnings, not just box office, but everything associated, franchising was prioritized for Batman Returns.
Yes, of course.
Warner Brothers delayed major promotion until February of '92 to avoid oversaturation and the risk of driving away audiences. It was released, as we know, in summer of '92. By that theatrical summer beginning, which usually begins like the last week of May, is like the summer blockbuster season starts. The film industry was struggling. Ticket sales were their lowest in 15 years. Rising film production costs and several box office failures the previous year meant that many independent and some major film studios were struggling financially. 89 films were scheduled for that summer season, and studios had to carefully schedule their releases to avoid competition from anticipated blockbusters, which included Lethal Weapon 3, as well as the 1992 Summer Olympics. Batman Returns was predicted to be the summer's biggest success, and other studios were reportedly concerned about releasing their films within a few weeks of its premiere. So, like, when a big movie comes out, like, other studios, like, try to stay clear of it.
Unless you're Marvel and you
just release 5.
Cannibalize your own.
You basically cannibalize your own movies, because it's like, your movie then competes with another movie that you also made. And it's like,
remember when Black Panther was still in theaters
when Infinity War came out,
and he was in theaters for like a month or two, and then another movie came out and he fucking dead.
And he was
only alive.
He was dusted
for like a month, and he actually did shit.
Batman Returns premiered on June 16th, 1992 at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. 2 blocks of Hollywood Boulevard were closed for over 3,000 fans, 33 TV film crews, and 100 photographers. So what did you think of this movie?
silly.
Okay.
Well,
that's it for this week's episode.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. It's just so silly. I just like it was just
silly in a good way because the Adam West one was silly, and that's why I liked it. But it was. I think the difference is that this isn't. This is trying to be weird, but it's not trying to be silly.
I think
it's not meant to make us laugh. Well, there are funny parts, but we're laughing at the wrong parts.
Yeah, I think bad silly. I think overall, like, I do appreciate it, I guess, just because, like, you know, nostalgia, but then also, you know, just being a fan of Tim and Danny, well, and also Danny.
Tim, Danny, and also Danny.
Because I was thinking DeVito, but then I remembered.
Oh, so there's two Dannys.
Yeah, so there's two Dannys. Danny and Tim. And yeah, so I think somewhere in here there is an okay story, a could be good story, but there's just like a lot of things that I think present itself that kind of like maybe get in the way of it. And
like what?
Like the script. I don't know. It's just like like I don't know. Just sometimes it was just so silly. Like with Selena and the whole like, oh yeah, I forgot, I'm not married. Like it's like, okay, like you can tell us in other ways. Like you don't have to be so like heavy-handed with it, you know. Like...
That's the thing. It feels like I think they were trying to really draw a contrast, but it does borderline on like comical when she's just like every other sentence is like, oh well, you know me, I can never get a man.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like that pre-Catwoman state that she's in is like,
yeah,
it's just absurdly like self-deprecating.
Yeah. So I think they're a little heavy-handed on some other parts too. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say, is this really Batman Returns, or is this like the Penguin story? Because like Batman is like barely in it, which is
a big problem I think for Batman movies. Sometimes is like being too like the villain kind of steals the spotlight.
Yeah.
Which was certainly true with Jack Nicholson and the Joker in the last one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I don't mind because like I like Penguin, I like Danny DeVito. Like I think, you know, he really, like you were saying, he really does the role well. But you know, like it is a little silly, like for a Batman movie to not really have Batman.
I mean, he's in it. It's just like the same thing as the last one, where I never feel like I really get into him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I learn factual details, but I never feel like the story is really from his POV. Something that the Christian Bale movies never struggle with. Mm-hmm. Like they always very much, even The Dark Knight, which is very much like the Joker show.
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm seeing it through Bruce's eyes. Mm-hmm. Whereas this movie and the last one really feel like it's like I'm watching Penguin or the Joker, Catwoman. Like I'm not talking about scenes with Batman actually seeing them. I'm just saying like the perspective always feels like I'm a viewer watching the Penguin, not I'm not with Bruce.
Yeah,
in the way I want to be.
Like seeing this
emotionally.
Like seeing this just to inform, like, you know, where we stand, Bruce and us as the audience. Mm-hmm.
Because like even in The Dark Knight, even with scenes without Batman, I'm always thinking about the Joker in terms of how does he contrast Batman? Like I'm always thinking Bruce in those movies is like my measuring stick. Whereas in these movies, he's kind of just like another character. He's the main character. He's the hero, but it's like he's not as central to my appreciation or understanding of the story. Yeah, by any means.
Which like
he's really the least complicated of the characters. He should really be the most complicated.
He's just like brooding. He's just like I don't know,
eating cold soup
into himself. Yeah, like
also I looked up just so you all know that soup can be served cold. Typically is served cold, but can be served hot. So him kind of being annoyed at the cold soup
What?
is semi-justified.
What was that? Was it like a potato soup? It looked like mashed
Vichy
potatoes.
Suisse, I think it said. Yeah, some kind of soup. I don't know. Cold soup feels. I feel like I would throw up eating cold soup. That sounds
Cold soup. Not hot soup.
Of course, the reference that everyone's gonna know.
Oh, it's from this movie about. Is it called?
It's called Against the Wall.
Oh, not Attica. Okay. Yeah, Against the Wall. It's about is it about Attica?
Yes.
Or like something similar to yeah.
It's about the Attica prison uprisings. There's a character a prisoner who throws hot soup on someone. He's like, "Hot soup, motherfucker! Hot soup!"
Yeah.
And that's what she's referencing.
Pretty funny.
Anywho.
Well, not the situation at Attica, of course, but just the saying hot soup, because that was like one of that person's gripes. There's like lack of toilet paper, and then there's like soup. So it's whatever. But yeah, no, I honestly like don't mind because like Jack Nicholson, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Danny DeVito like are kind of awesome. So.
Like they're fun to watch. Like if you're gonna focus on these other people, it at least is good that they're entertaining.
They're really good. Yeah, I think they outshine.
That was a problem with like
Michael
the serials where it's like, remember DACA, like the Japanese. Not Wizard. The Wizard was the other guy. The business
we
spent a lot of time on him, but he's not interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it's like, okay, I have some issues with you narratively sidelining your protagonist, but if you're gonna do that, you best be sure to make them interesting. And I think they do pull that off.
Yeah, and I think they kind of outshine him just a little bit. Kind of similar with like Jack, but it also doesn't help that he's like barely in it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Whatever.
But so it's fun. The movie, again, I think it speaks to your point. The movie starts with essentially Penguin's origin story. It starts with him being born.
Yes, it's the Penguin movie.
And the mother's giving birth, and the doctor stumbles out of the delivery area. Never a good sign. When the doctor is like, looks like he just saw like a bomb go off or something. Oh my God. Yeah, so I guess he's born like a deformed mutant penguin boy.
But the only thing are his hands, right? Unless his
nose is kind of like, I don't know.
I guess
like,
his nose is obnoxiously pointy, but
I
don't know. I just figured that was.
They keep the boy in a cage. He attacks the cat, which I think is foreshadowing for his beef with Catwoman.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. But
so what do? They dump him in the river.
But I'm confused on the timeline though, because
33 years exactly.
No, I understand.
Before this movie starts.
No, I'm saying birth. And then being in the cage attacking cats.
Maybe they tried for like a year.
Okay.
And they were like, this is not working.
Okay.
Or maybe, I have no idea.
And then, yes, but then somehow he becomes self-sufficient or penguin sufficient.
I guess he finds, so they drop him down a river and he ends up like in the sewers. But then the sewers, I guess, lead to below the zoo. But there's penguins in the sewer below the zoo.
I think they're one and the same.
And they raise him? How does he learn to speak?
Well, the people at the zoo, they yell.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, he probably goes out to the grates, He was Pennywise in it a little bit.
Pennywise in it a little bit. Like the clown from It?
Yes, looking out the grates. But it was weird. I think at some points it looked one and the same because the sewer tunnels opened to the penguin exhibit. Unless that was a separate exhibit, but at one point someone falls through the glass, like the observation glass, into that area. So I don't really know.
Interesting. But yeah, there's definitely with this film a huge star increase, right? It's like watching the opening credits.
Yes.
It's like Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken. I was like, holy shit! Like this is like
that's what I'm saying. It was
but no Billy D. Williams, Harvey Dent.
Oh yeah, that is kind of weird.
Who was really only cast so they could eventually have him be Two-Face.
But then they never did.
And they just wasted him on like a few lines in the last one.
Oh yeah, he was barely in that one. He was just in the conference scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, big names, big sillies.
Big names, big laughs, big sillies. Big Christmas? Yeah, so the whole thing is going to take place around Christmas time. Again, a classic of like the 80s, 90s consumerist culture.
Yeah, it's like Die Hard. It's like semi-Christmassy.
Yeah, the debate that people are like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? I'm like, who gives a shit? I don't really care. I forget why I wrote this, but Penguin is an anti-capitalist. At some point, he's talking about like the masses being oppressed by the powerful.
Yes. He says something about business because Shrek. He's a business guy. I forgot what he said, but I remember.
Yeah, so I don't understand what Shrek's business is. It's just a general business, but he's just like involved in different. Like, doesn't he have a department store? But he's also involved in energy. Like, his whole evil scheme is that he's gonna create essentially something that he's gonna claim as a power generator, but really it's sucking power away.
Yeah, and like basically like
creating demand for power.
Yeah, and I think also like having them increase it, but also like paying to increase it or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of unclear, but I guess like a general businessman, and kind of just like has ties into everything. I mean, he even has like the mayor kind of in his back pocket, so like.
Yeah, there's one point
he's
where
like one of those guys. You know?
There's one point where they're doing a press conference, and he's like. The mayor's like, I'm gonna turn it over to the one who really runs the show.
Yeah, the mayor
like explicitly. Explicitly, he's like our leading citizen. Which how do you determine the leading citizen?
The one who pays the big bucks.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so the whole idea is that Selena is his secretary. Oh, excuse me, executive assistant. And her whole origin story is that she, stumbles upon, like, the truth that he's going to siphon off all the power.
And I said, girl, you better shut your trap. Are you trying to get yourself killed? And she surely did.
Sure enough, she did, yeah.
Sure enough, she surely did. He said, why are you telling him all of the evil things you've uncovered?
Yeah, he pushes her out a window.
Silence! Take 2 cops. Come back.
Be done with it, yeah.
Fix.
But yeah, he pushes her out a window like a dozen stories.
Yeah, like
if not more,
a million stories, and she like
lands on it. But I guess what breaks her fall, she kind of crashes through like a tarp, so it kind of like breaks a little bit of her fall, and then so I guess that's how she survives.
Now that I think about it, why does she land like in an almost similar position as Sally? With the bent leg.
Oh, in Nightmare Before Christmas, yeah.
The bent leg.
But then out of nowhere, they establish that she has a cat. A singular cat.
A singular cat who goes out on the town.
But when she falls, like a fucking armada, a feline armada appears to like lick her wounds. And she starts like twitching and her eyes start rolling back of her head, and then she like wakes up and gets up.
Sees us. It's kind of scary.
and she goes back to her apartment and like just wrecks her apartment, which I don't is the idea because cats wreck shit?
No, you didn't understand?
No.
Well, okay.
Tell me.
Because of the stark contrast between their characters, right? Like Selena is a pushover. She's does what other people say. She's kind of like a little girl in a sense, and that's why she has so many like stuffed animals and it's pink and like froofy frilly, like why the fuck is she making a dollhouse, like things like that. So now it's like the complete opposite of like she's like fuck this shit, like I'm gonna tear it all up and I'm gonna go like latex like leather hot bitch now. Like
it's funny because it's like
it's a visual representation of her changing mindset.
No, I understand that, but it's like I'm gonna stick it to the man by destroying my own apartment. That'll show him.
No. She's just making her own cat lair.
But no, I don't think we ever go back there.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like she
drinks a lot of milk when she comes home.
Ugh, she does straight out of a carton.
But
also, she's very frivolous, and when she served Miss Kitty, she got milk on the floor. Is she gonna clean that up?
And we're in the middle of a recession.
Is Miss Kitty gonna drink it off the floor? Why put it in a bowl at that point?
Just pour a bunch on the floor.
What the heck?
Put it in the bathtub.
Yes, like Mr. Popper's penguins, baby.
Mr. Popper's penguins.
Oh my god,
Mr. Cobblepot.
Mr. Cobblepot. Mr. Cobble?
Mr. Cobblecock.
Mr. Cobblepot's penguins. Oh my gosh. It brought me so much joy watching that. Well, it was a little sad because they had like explosive rockets strapped to their backs. But it brought me so much joy watching all those fucking penguins walk to the town square. They were just like...
Yeah, near the end, yeah. So we were talking about him deploying
waddling
missiles
along.
on Gotham earlier. The plan is to like have a bunch of missiles strapped to a bunch of penguins. And yeah, so they're waddling down the street or whatever. I like a intersection.
They're just so cute. Yeah, also, where the fuck are all the people? It's just empty streets and like no one notices this giant brigade of penguins.
Maybe they went to hide because they were like, penguins!
Penguins are so cute.
You know.
And there were different kinds of penguins. So the big ones with the people in it, those were emperor penguins, but then there were other little penguins, you know. There's like the pebble penguins, and then there's the Lovelace penguins. He's not in that one, I don't think, or in this one.
Lovelace from Happy Feet.
Yes. You know the one with like the little
yes,
yellow
of course,
things.
yes.
I don't remember seeing any of those, but I saw a lot of pebble penguins.
There was a lot of combining penguin types that wouldn't normally go together.
Yes, you would think in a zoo, don't they only keep 1 to 2 kinds of penguins? They don't keep like 5 different types of penguins.
I don't know.
Wouldn't that create new species?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But I do. I'm gonna say it. I do like this Catwoman.
Yeah, she's cool. She's just it's just like, I don't know, something is left to be desired with like, I don't know, her
she elevates the material.
Yeah. Like there's definitely like some stuff lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Like either like in the script or just like character, like what's driving, like motivation or anything. But like, yeah, I think Michelle Pfeiffer definitely like was able to take what little material she had and like really like fuck that shit up. Like,
yeah, she like really commits. I think that's what makes it work. Is that like you could see her body language change.
Mm-hmm.
You could see like her facial expressions, the way she'll deliver her lines.
Yeah.
It's you know, she's also really hot. I'm sorry. It's just but I wrote down Mommy Catwoman. Is her costume is great. And is she the best Catwoman? Probably not. Is she the most Catwoman? I think so.
She really does lean into it. And like I was saying, it's like very campy, but like because she commits to it, it like doesn't seem as like,
because the other versions of Catwoman don't really feel like Catwoman. They just feel like cat burglars.
Cat burglars.
No, they're just like...
Isn't that what she...
Yeah. Whereas this like feels like this is like a character named Catwoman.
Yeah, I mean, she like really commits. She's like licking herself and shit, like, you know. Like,
oh my god, that was so bizarre.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
not the word I thought you were gonna say.
No, it was bizarre.
Okay.
No, I did not like that.
Okay.
I was not attracted to her licking her palm, the back of her fist, and then rubbing it on her. Is that how cats clean themselves? I know they licked. I didn't know they then used their licked paw to then wipe other parts.
Well, yeah. How do you think they can't lick their ears?
Yeah, well, dogs will just lift up their leg and start licking their dick. So I don't know.
They do that too, but their dicks aren't their ears. How are you supposed to clean the top of your head?
That's a good point. I don't know.
Exactly, with your paw.
All right. You've convinced me. You talked me into it.
Come on.
Again, another person. Again, Danny DeVito also really commits to the Penguin.
Yes.
But again,
So scary.
other versions of the Penguin, he's just like a gangster. Why is he a mutant? It's just horrifying. I think it's just.
He is very horrifying and like kind of like a sad little man, honestly, because like I was saying, he wears those like long johns or like a, I don't know.
Yeah, I know they're long
suit.
johns.
Yeah, he wears long johns, but then like at one point, like it looks like he's like shit himself because like it's like dirty in the crack area.
It's very unpleasant. That's the word I would use.
Like,
is like his performance is very unpleasant. I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
I enjoy it artistically. I do not enjoy it like.
Well, I mean, I guess he is from the sewers, so it makes sense. But it's just like, I don't know. There's something very scary about it. But
straight
also,
out of sewers.
straight out of the sewers.
Yeah.
But yeah, but also like very silly. I guess some time ago he was a part of the circus? Question mark.
Yeah, that part confused me. So yeah, that's why his goons are clowns, which would have made more sense for the Joker.
I mean, I guess it makes sense, but not if he's from there and was already there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if he was from somewhere else and then that's how he got to Gotham, then I think that would make sense. But the fact that he was from Gotham, got
to be in the zoo,
got to his
circus.
lair, and then went out to be a part of the circus, and then come back. That's
it's a little strange.
A little strange, but I mean.
Mm-hmm. If you had to pick a favorite between Catwoman, Penguin, and Shrek, as like the villains, who was your favorite?
Probably, I think Penguin for the like outgoingness of it, but I also did think that, like, as always, Christopher Walken brings like his like subtlety to like the corrupt bad guy. I don't know, but he's
not as memey as Christopher Walken has been.
No, yeah, but it's like it was also weird because like
we gotta find this Batman. He doesn't do that, which I was a little disappointed.
No, but he's still, there's something about him. I don't know. But it was also kind of like strange because I don't know. To me, like he just looked like a doll. Like I don't know. He just looked like airbrushed. Like.
Well, it's so weird because he just
blush,
looks
like it was just like he was like a doll or something.
It's like weird because he's kind of like just a person.
Yeah.
But then you have Catwoman and Penguin who are like visually so ridiculous.
Yeah.
That it's like weird. It's like it's like a weird contrast between them.
Yeah. And of course,
especially in the world that Burton has constructed, it's weird. Like he's like fairly normal looking, all things considered.
He's like the most alive looking person.
Usually, Christopher Walken always looks like a zombie or something. So.
But no, and that's not to say that I don't like Catwoman, but I don't really think of her as like a villain, at least. Or
she's like by default Penguin.
Yeah, I mean, because like I know she's like technically a villain, but like I don't know. I feel like she's
an antagonistic force.
Yeah, she's an antagonistic force, an anti-hero. Whereas like these guys,
she's the hero of her own story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean what was up with that? She was like saving that lady, but then she also like victim blamed. Like, was that?
Yeah, she does kind of. So yeah, there's a part where a woman's getting mugged, and then
strange,
she's able to take out the mugger, and the woman's like, "Thank you," and then she kind of turns on the woman, is like, you gotta stop putting yourself in these situations to get rescued by a man like Batman.
Yeah, something weird like that.
It is kind of. I didn't think about that. She's kind of like blaming the victim for getting mugged.
Is walking down the street putting yourself in the position to?
She's like the other end of it, where it's like. She's like the other. If she starts off the movie as like this super like, oh, if only I could find a man, to like this opposite extreme of like
fuck a man.
Like you're less of a like almost like a pick me kind of woman where it's like I'm not like other women. Like I stick up for myself.
Pick me woman.
You never heard that? Like
no.
The girls, so their whole personality is like, I'm not like other girls. Yeah. I'm different. Pick me.
Oh.
Like yeah. So
I've heard the first part, not the name.
So, that's like. It's not always that, but it's like the idea of like the reason why they're differentiating themselves is like I'm the better woman,
yeah,
so you
like,
should pick me.
Like I'm better because I don't need you, but like.
Or that's the thing. It's like I'm better because like I'm like I'm not into girly things. Like I'm not like those like frivolous girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't have to put down other women to affirm your womanliness. But
it was the 90s. We lacked nuance,
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like at the time people were probably like, "Whoa, so progressive, so feminist." And then you watch it now, you're going, "Yeah, I don't know about some of the choices."
Because now I don't even know. I wasn't even fucking born. But, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, I think people understand that you don't have to be on either end of the spectrum, that it is a spectrum and you can express.
As long as you are expressing agency. If you want to be a housewife and, like, cook and clean, and that's what you want to do, then that's great. Yeah. It's that so many women for so long, like, had no other. They were forced. They had no other choice.
So, like, don't do it if you're being forced. Well, obviously, never mind. Like, don't do it if you think that that's, like, the only thing you can do, or, like...
If that's not gonna bring you joy and, like, happiness.
Yeah.
Because some people derive, like, that, like, I'm gonna be a homemaker. And I'm gonna, like, it's gonna be my job is, like, making this, like, the best place for, you know, these kids to grow up. Right? Whatever it is, right?
Which is honestly very commendable, because running a house is very difficult. And kids and stuff.
It's that, as long as it's, like, it's done freely... actively with agency is the thing, right?
And I think also with the support of your partner too, because if it's just by default because they're the ones who work and then you're left to take care of everything, then that's also not very, even if you want to.
It's complicated. There's no black and white. You know,
only brown.
Not only brown. It's just shades of gray.
No black and white, only brown. Only
brown. But let's talk a little bit about Tim Burton and all of this, right?
Yes.
So,
Tim.
I think you could sense that he's having more fun with it. Mm-hmm. I think he's as visually inventive as ever. In terms of, like, some of the camera angles and, like, the camera push-ins and the editing and
the miniatures.
The miniatures, yeah. There's the miniature of the zoo, which I think is a miniature because the way they're moving the camera around in 1992, I was like,
in the credits there. This is why you gotta watch the credits.
Okay.
There was like a miniature production place.
Credited, you can definitely see the bigger budget on display. Mm-hmm. You know, in terms of the sets,
you can see it in the names too.
Probably just the pay. Yeah, probably a lot of it's just like with Johnny Depp, where it was something like 50 million or something. No, maybe it was less. Maybe it was like 5 million.
It was like something utterly ridiculous.
It was like grossly, you know.
Yeah.
It was absolutely ridiculous. I'm trying to see what else. I didn't write up too much here. We talked about Keaton. Again, I think he's grown on me a little bit more. He's definitely more low key. We don't get any more moments of, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
That was so weird.
He's pretty low key for this movie, which I think helps him, right? Where it's like this consistent characterization as opposed to being kind of like low key in the last one and then just like out of the blue. Like the last one, he was more squirrely. Like Michael Keaton is kind of like, not squirrely, but Michael Keaton is kind of like a quirky guy. It felt like he was being Michael Keaton more in the last one when he was being Bruce. You know, like when he's like trying to tell Vicky his secret, he's like, okay, so, you know, like, whereas this, he felt more like a little bit more of like a blank canvas. Yeah. Which I think has problems with it in itself, but I think it at least doesn't have the problems of being too much of a bad thing. I don't want to say bad. I love Michael Keaton. Don't get me wrong.
No, I think it's just
not appropriate.
It's just a difficult role or difficult character to pull off because there is, I think, such subtlety and that, like, I'm sure Bruce can laugh, right? But it's like takes so much and is so rare that, like, a lot of his personhood is very, you know, like, not monotone, but like very, you know, kind of relaxed and reserved like that. But it can't just be reserved in a performance, you know? Like, it has to be a compelling reserved, or else it's just boring.
There's a difference between being reserved and just, like, not acting.
Yeah.
Like, not doing anything.
Yeah.
There's a difference between acting and you're trying to hold back the acting.
Yeah.
Than not acting.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what, like, there's a difference between someone not crying and someone holding back tears.
Yes.
Both of them, they're not crying, but one's very different, right?
Yeah, so I think that's how I would describe it, is like, I mean, I don't know personally how hard he was trying, but I feel like...
$10 million, I would hope he's trying.
But I think that's just a difficult thing that not a lot of people are able to bring. and especially on film, because like with theater, I feel like you could just be more exaggerative, like
exaggerated.
Exaggerated. Kind of like playing to the back row or whatever, to contrast that reservedness in the regularity. But I think with this, there's not really that opportunity, or at least he doesn't take that opportunity. But I don't know. I'm just me. But something that I'm not like a thespian. But
nor are you a lesbian.
But one part that does really bother me is when he takes off his mask and it rips like a $2 like rubber.
Yeah, near the end he takes off his mask to reveal his identity to Catwoman, who I already thought knew I thought they already established that they both knew who each other were at the
That's what I'm
ball.
saying, is that there's subtleties within the movie, but then they come at it with heavy-handedness. It's like, okay, we understand. They both knew that each other were each other at the
They
ball.
wanted to make sure I bet that was like a studio note, like, you got to reshoot this scene because does she know that he's Batman? And Tim was probably like, well, yeah, we had a scene where
they
both
knows.
realize.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not clear enough. You're right. They'll undermine like the subtle, like some really interesting. That was like one of the better scenes, right? When they're at this ball and they both realize that they are the other. Because earlier in the film,
because they're actors,
they're talking about mistletoe,
and you can see it.
Yeah, it was early in the film when they're Batman and Catwoman. They're fighting and they're talking about mistletoe.
Yes.
And he's like, it's dangerous to.
They say what the other person said.
Yes, it's dangerous to kiss to eat mistletoe, and then she says it's more dangerous to kiss if you mean it. And then at the ball, they both, as Bruce and Selina, they both say that, but they like reverse it, so it's like they're both like, wait, how do you know that thing that you just said? And then they both realize, and it's like this more subtle. Again, they're not like, wait, you're Batman. You're like, they don't say that, like they don't need to, like they know, we get it.
Well, then they know, and because of that, and their prior establishment of their relationship, then I think on both sides, right, is why she feels, I don't know, I guess you could say she feels comfortable enough to like divulge and kind of what is it called? Confide in him about wanting to kill Shrek, right? So that's why she's like, oh, like, I have this gun, like she wouldn't have just done that with Bruce.
Yeah. Because she know now, like the truth is out there. She's like
that they're both like vigilante types. They both, kind of operate outside of the law. They have,
and I think that draws an interesting line where it's like,
I think she even mentions.
Yeah, like, and I think this is one of the better parts of the movie is like they do draw this interesting parallel in this romance, right? Like, not that she's been Catwoman for very long, but they both express like they're both tired of wearing masks in a figurative sense. Because it's funny because at that party, they're the only ones not wearing masks because it's a masquerade ball.
I was the one who pointed that out to you. You didn't understand.
I did. I'm just saying.
After I said it.
Before!
But you didn't get the wrecking of the apartment?
No, I understand that she was mad, but why? What is destroying your own stuff?
Old her!
Oh, the old her.
The stuffed animals, pink frilly dollhouse Selena.
Oh, okay. But they do draw this interesting parallel between the two of them, and to a lesser extent, but now that we're talking about it, they are both vigilantes. So what makes them different? Like, why is Batman okay, but Catwoman? You know what I mean? It's like, it raises interesting questions about, like, vigilantism and, like, what makes, like, where's the line between, like, you're breaking the rules to do the right thing? What's the line between that and, like, you're just doing the wrong thing now? Like,
I think it's similar to...
I don't think anyone should take the law into their own hands.
No.
But
I think
in this context, it's it's a different story.
It could be seen as kind of similar to like Professor X and Magneto, because like they, in a way, they both want the same thing. They both want mutants be accepted, right? But it's kind of the road to hell is paved with good intentions type of, you know, Catwoman is easily like, or Joker or any of the villains are easily distracted from the straight and narrow, or the, you know, the path of justice or whatever, or well, justice within vigilantism. But yeah, so I would say that's at least my perceived difference, because I was thinking the same thing, and I thought it was interesting that she explicitly said that. Also, oh my god, along with the heavy-handedness, like, there was some drama in this movie. There was like so silly, but then like there would be like some good burns, or like just like calling people out, you know, like I was just like, ooh, I can't believe she said that, or like I can't believe she said that. So that
I can't believe she licked his entire face.
That was disgusting. I hope you took a mint before doing that, Michelle. Also, what is...
It was onion rings day at the craft service table.
How is this going to help his relationship? How is this going to help mend his relationship with his wife?
You licking him. From chin to nose.
Like you haven't done it before. Just in private.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, even if he ate his lunch in costume that day, it would be okay, because as it's revealed, he has like 12 of the identical Batman outfits. He's like a cartoon character. Like
we did get an answer to our question. What's his name? Alfred does not take his suits to the dry cleaners. He simply gets another suit. It is like the B movie.
Though I'm sure they still wash the dirty ones. No, he just gets a new. Every day gets a new suit.
Well, he doesn't go out every day.
I think he goes out every night.
How is that sustainable?
That's what some of the films wrestle with. But no, yeah, it does. The movie, speaking of wrestles, the movie does kind of, it tries to examine this idea of like the conflict or contrast, I should say, between justice and revenge, and like how they're different.
Yes.
Which Batman Begins also focuses a lot on.
Add that to my road to hell thing. The easily swayed.
I think in Batman Begins, Katie Holmes' character says like, justice is about like, you know, like a trial, like actually being held account. Revenge is just you making yourself feel better, right? It's not really holding them to account, in a meaningful way. But let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we also see that the entrance to the Batcave is like one of those spiky torture devices, like a sarcophagus, and he goes inside.
What the?
And then he goes down and he comes out like on a slide. See, it's like stuff like that is just as silly as the Adam West thing, but it's played serious.
But he just does it. He's trying to be. You can tell he's just trying to do it so coolly. Like he's trying to fumble.
Michael
out.
Keane is really trying to keep a straight face.
He's trying not to fumble out of there. It's funny.
And one other funny thing I noted is so near the end, the Penguin. So he's running for mayor. And he's making a speech, but then Batman has a recording of him saying other stuff on CD.
Yes.
And it's like, oh no, they're hearing what he really thinks of them, or he's evil, or whatever. But then Batman is kind of like he's being a DJ, and he's like remixing Penguin, and he's like doing like the DJ thing where he's like, but it's like a CD, it's not a vinyl. And it's like, bro, you just scratched the disc. That's not how it works. I think CDs were very new at the time, newish.
That was funny. Yeah, because at first I didn't understand what he was doing, because like it was like mid-car chase, and I guess mid-car takeover chase, and he just pops a CD in, and I was like, the fuck is he doing? He's gonna listen to like a self-help CD? What is going on here? And there is no explanation until later.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, okay, so I guess he was recording.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible. Oh, there's also FaceTime. He FaceTimed Alfred.
That's right. Proto FaceTime.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, this movie, I think I'm kind of like in a similar place with the other one. It's like, it's okay. Like, if I never revisit this, I'm not going to be upset. There's certainly, it's just like the last one. There's parts of it that I really like. I will say there's nothing that annoyed me that much, like with, what was the reporter's name in the last one? Knox.
Oh, yeah.
He, like, actively annoyed me. There was nothing like that in this movie.
Oh, it was kind of strange how they wrote off Vicky, though. It was just like, oh, that didn't work out. But...
Yeah, there was just, like, this one, like, classic 90s sequel, like, no attention to continuity or like, trying to integrate it. Just like
she couldn't have made a little cameo, and then, you know, you kind of have that contention between the two. And
it'd be more interesting, not just a cameo, if she was a major character. But now he has, like, there's, like, this love triangle. Where he's like, I don't love Catwoman, and it's like, yeah, but Batman does.
Oh,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
that would be juicy,
right? It writes itself. Warner Brothers. You miss an opportunity.
But I guess the Penguin did want to marry Catwoman. That was kind of weird.
Everyone wants Joker trying to marry Vicky Vale. Everyone's trying to marry everyone. Tim Burton loves women being unwittingly married to strange men. I wonder if that's how Helena Bonham Carter felt about their marriage.
But I don't think they ever got married. They were just together.
Oh, I thought they were married.
They were like together for 1,000,000 years and then they broke up.
Oh,
I don't know.
That's the worst.
I know. Well, I guess technically, common law. They
common law.
Unless they didn't live together.
Oh, unless they didn't live
together.
A lot of food for thought.
I don't know the whole situation.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yes.
You want to some trivia?
Yes.
Okay. At least 50% of the Warner Brothers lot was taken up with Gotham City sets.
Wow.
So it was a really big set, which makes sense, especially if you think of like the Penguin's lair. It's like this huge space, and it's like water. It's like a little pool, so you really need like a lot of space to I guess, build out things like that.
Yeah.
And again, like the production designers said, he really wanted to really show a contrast between the size of the architecture and the people, and really make them feel small.
Yeah, it was very large. It was very high, you know. So yeah,
very high.
It was a big space, and they were little.
To be little people. Burgess Meredith, who played Penguin in the Batman 60s show in the movie, was asked to play the Penguin's father in the opening of the film, but illness prevented him from it.
Oh.
I bet the illness was a tummy ache.
Oh.
From eating too much raw fish.
Oh.
I'm just joking.
Sushi.
In an interview for television, Stan Winston, I don't know who that is, told a little anecdote about how his crew were collecting the mechanical penguins after a day's shoot and found one of the live penguins snuggled up asleep against a mechanical one.
Aww.
He must have worked like the VFX of it. Danny DeVito, whose makeup as the Penguin took 3 hours to be applied every morning, removed one of the cabinets in the makeup trailer and put in a Laserdisc machine in a television.
Makes sense.
While they were putting on the makeup, he brought in his favorite movies and watched them in the mirror.
I should tell my story.
Tell your story. Speak your truth.
Okay, so when I was little, this one time I got grounded, right? And so I was grounded. That meant no TV, but you know, you have to eat dinner at the dinner table. You can't be eating dinner around the house, right?
Of course.
So, you know, but if you eat at the dinner table with your back turned to the TV and there's a back door with a window in it, you can watch TV just reversed. So, you know, Danny DeVito and I, you know,
this was like
great minds think alike.
This was like the kid version of like, you know, when you pirate movies, they're like flipped. It's like that was weird. That was like the pre-digital version of what you're talking about.
My mom was so pissed when she realized.
But
it's like, what? I'm not watching TV. I'm not watching the TV.
You are mischievous. Laserdiscs are before my time, but for younger listeners out there, Laserdiscs were kind of like pre-DVD. Like they were the size of vinyl. I think they were vinyl, but for visuals. So
Laserdiscs? I thought they were CD size.
I'm pretty sure they were like they were vinyl sized. They were like bigger. As opposed to, they were like the next evolution after VHS, but then before they really caught on, DVD came along, which was just better in every way. It was cheaper to make, it was better video quality, so Laserdisc eventually fell out of favor. So that's why this dates this time in the early 90s.
A lot of stuff's cut out from VHS to DVD. I mean, think VHS is like an inch thick. You know?
Oh yeah,
They just released.
Oh, like the plastic, you mean?
Yeah, they just really slimmed it down.
They took up a lot of space.
Isn't that's kind of impressive how much they slimmed it down?
Yeah, no, yeah. The crew. So isn't there a part where there's like a monkey and he delivers a letter from Batman? So there's a little monkey. The crew had a hard time getting the shot where the monkey delivers the letter from Batman to the Penguin. Evidently, Danny DeVito's makeup terrified the animal. Lots of cute animal stories in this. Hopefully the animals were not mistreated.
No, it said so in the credits. They weren't.
Phew. Several modifications were made to the Batsuit, including a color scheme and chest plate logo. At the request of Michael Keaton, a zipper was also added to the pants.
When you gotta pee, you gotta pee.
Yeah.
Great. Now where's the door?
With the Batmobile, yeah. Well, that was the thing in Grease. For the last scene when Olivia Newton-John's in the leather suit, it didn't have like a zipper, so she basically had to get out of costume every time she had to go to the bathroom. And also they were filming like outside in the summer, and so she's probably drinking a lot of water. Like it was just Yikes. Where am I? Oh, here I am. Michelle Pfeiffer went through 60 catsuits during the 6-month shoot at a cost of $1,000 a piece.
How?
Ripped or maybe
ripped or something?
Maybe ripped or got fucked up. Maybe doing some action scenes.
Oh well, you know what? Now that I think about it, she does get fucked up a few times.
Yeah.
Like, it's all ripped up and whatnot.
I didn't read this in my trivia, but I talked about it. There's the scene where she, like, decapitates all the mannequin heads.
Yes.
There's a behind-the-scenes video that you can find of, like, actually on set of Michelle Pfeiffer doing all of them in succession at once herself. As she learned how to use the whip to decapitate these mannequin heads.
That's pretty badass.
And then following like them cutting, like the crew like erupts into applause and they're like, "Woo!"
It's pretty fucking badass.
It is. During one scene, Michelle Pfeiffer had to put a live bird in her mouth. They had bird puppets on set, but Pfeiffer thought they all looked too fake.
Girl,
so she had a real.
It's in your mouth. It doesn't look like nothing.
That's true. This was one of the last major Hollywood films to be done, quote, the old-fashioned way, with indoor sound stages, Trump-loyal sets, which I looked up what that meant yesterday when I was writing this trivia. What does that mean? It's using forced perspective to create dimension, where there is no dimension. As well as miniatures and various other vestiges of old school Hollywood filmmaking. Because if you start to think, I mean, the next year you get Jurassic Park, right? Like, you start to have a lot more stuff on location, which had been a trend since like the 70s and 80s. But then with the dawn of like green screen and everything, like you really start to see stuff like this fall by the wayside of like building these sets and everything.
Too expensive.
In order to get the cats to surround Selena when she's knocked out, the filmmakers put tuna on a dummy version of Selena and tuna on the suit. I'm skipping this one because we already talked about the Reichstag fire and so there are numerous references to Germany's Weimar Republic culture, which existed from 1919 to 1933. The outfit and look of the Penguin are based on the title character from The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which was a very famous German expressionist film from the early 20s. And much of the scenery and set designs of this movie are inspired by the same movie. A villain is named after Max Schreck, who was a film star of that era. From the Weimar Republic. Schreck suggests to the Penguin to make a Reichstag fire, the terrorist act which the Nazi parties used as a subtext to seize power, saying they were guarding against terrorists and disband the Weimar Republic. It is popularly assumed that the Nazis set the fire. According to the book Movie Magic by Robin Cross, the Penguin's army consisted of real penguins, penguins in glass fiber suits, robotic penguins controlled by puppeteers, and computer animation. A technique called flocking was used, where several penguins would imitate a master penguin, allowing control over large numbers.
Yes!
So if they had just one robot one, they would all follow that one.
Yes! Like in The Walking Dead.
In Walking Dead, they have like the
Whisperers.
The Whisperers.
Yeah.
During his appearance on the WTF podcast with Mark Maron, Michael Keaton stated that he has never watched the completed movie. He went on to explain that he only took the role because he needed money for a real estate deal.
What? Okay.
In this film, Christopher Walken is the aggressor, whereas Michelle Pfeiffer is the submissive. The two also appeared together in the 2000 musical Hairspray, movie musical, where Pfeiffer is now the aggressor and Walken is the submissive.
Yes, of course.
A little reunion there.
He's a very doting husband.
Also,
it's interesting to know now that Shrek was named after a real character, but I just thought it was funny because Shrek,
Somebody wants... Okay.
Somebody in the world made of macaroni.
Batman record scratching a CD, which uses lasers. The whole point is that the record scratching is like the little thingy.
Yeah, the groove has
scratch
the
it,
sound,
yeah.
the song.
So Batman doing this was ridiculous back then, but now there are record players that use lasers instead of needles. An example being the ELP laser turntable.
It was just a funny. Get over it.
Get over it, woke mob.
Can you stop with that? You are the woke. We are the woke mob.
I know. That's why I like to say it's funny. The Penguin's life begins by being thrown into the river, and during his return to the society that cast him out, he plotted to kill the firstborn. Aside from the fact that he was thrown into the river in an attempt to kill him, and that he failed his child murdering, the Penguin is essentially a reverse Moses.
Yes, I said it was very biblical.
It is very biblical. The final shot of the film, in which Catwoman is seen looking at the bat signal, was added as an afterthought only weeks before the film opened. The shot had to be filmed on a weekend less than a day after conception, with a double for Michelle Pfeiffer. That single shot cost $250,000.
What? Oh, so we finally got we also got another answer to a question. So we were like, how does he see the bat signal if he's just hanging out at home, not looking?
He has like reflectors.
Not looking out the window. He's got reflectors. So it's this whole thing.
Yeah.
A whole contraption set up.
Singer Vance Joy names this as the film best showcasing Michelle Pfeiffer's talents, inspiring a line in his song Riptide, quote, "I swear she's destined for the screen. Closest thing to Michelle Pfeiffer that you've ever seen." In the song Riptide, yeah. Right? He has said he's especially impressed by the scene where Selena vandalizes her own apartment after surviving a murder attempt. And then lastly, the Penguin's age of death, 33 years old, is the same as the traditionally given age of Jesus' death.
Very extra biblical.
He's a Christ-like figure.
2 Bibles. Double down. Double it.
Can we talk about critical reception? I'm dying to talk about critical reception.
Sure.
So, in terms of the reaction at the time, it has an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, and here's the critical consensus. Quote, director Tim Burton's dark, brooding atmosphere, Michael Keaton's work as the tormented hero, and the flawless casting of Danny DeVito as the Penguin and Christopher Walken as, well, Christopher Walken, make the sequel better than the first. I agree with all of that. No mention of Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman? Yeah. Who's writing these critical consensus?
I don't know.
Yeah, I bet Rotten Tomatoes is going to outsource that now to ChatGPT or something. It'll, like, feed all the reviews and be like, write up one, 30-word summary of all of these reviews.
Yeah.
Batman Returns had a polarized reception from professional critics at the time.
I'm sure.
Several reviewers compared this to the last film. Some suggested the sequel had faster pacing and more comedy and depth, avoiding Batman's dourness and tedium. I would say the last film was pretty dour and tedious. Critics generally agreed that Burton's creative control made Batman Returns a more personal work than the first film, something fearlessly different, which could be judged on its own merits. Critics such as Kenneth Turin, however, said that Burton's innovative, impressive visuals made Batman Returns feel cheerless, claustrophobic, and unexciting, and were often emphasized at the expense of the plot. Reviewers generally agreed that despite Keaton's ability, his character was ignored by the script in favor of the villain, something we've said many times. Scenes without him were among the best. They were considered the best. Pfeiffer received near unanimous praise for the film's standout performance as a passionate, sexy, ambitious, intelligent, intimidating, and fierce embodiment of feminism, who offered the only respite from the otherwise dark tone. Welch's production design was generally praised, offering a sleeker, brighter, more authoritarian visual style than the original production designer from the first film, his brooding, oppressive aesthetic. Despite its PG-13 rating from the Motion Picture Association, warning parents that a film may contain strong content unsuitable for children, some audiences, particularly parents, disliked Batman Returns' violent and sexualized content. The studio received thousands of complaint letters. This is back, now it would just be angry YouTube comments. Waters recalled the aftermath of one screening, quote, "It's like kids crying, people acting like they've been punched in the stomach, and like they've been mugged."
Oh.
So you can see he wasn't very sensitive to people's concerns, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll see. So good. We're not the only ones who noticed it, and it's not because we're being like prudes or anything, but it's just our pearl clutching. It's just like this stark difference in like each scene.
There's a weird tone issue.
It's a very
not
weird
consistent.
tone issue.
In terms of a more modern, like what a modern reception would look like, critic Brian Tallarico said that the elements which originally upset critics and audiences are what makes it still, quote, revelatory. It's one of the best and strangest movies of its kind ever made, end quote. I don't know if it's one of the best and strangest movies of its kind ever made, but I think there is something. I think the best parts of it are when it's weirder. Mm-hmm. Like I think, when Burton is able to just like be Tim Burton. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. So on Letterboxd it has a 3.6 out of 5, mm-hmm. which I believe is the same as the last film. So again, it's not like this like cult. Like people love it now. Like it's still kind of.
I think it's
people
very
like it.
Influential, but like a lot of things, it's like. Comparatively, like it's like, oh, okay, it's fine, Yeah. But it's like what it did is that, kind of like the Ramones.
Like the what?
The Ramones.
The band, the Ramones.
Yeah, just like I was thinking about this the other day, how like they have a song about wanting to sniff glue, and that
They're
only
pushing the
goes so
boundaries.
far, but the cultural, pop culture and media, renaissance and push it. You can go to Target and bitches buy a Ramones shirt, don't even know who the fuck they are. It's like a.
You're one of those people who's like, you like the Ramones? Name 5 of their songs.
No, I'm not.
Here's some, as our new tradition here, here's some Letterboxd reviews that I was able to pull. Matt Lynch writes, quote, 3 cosplaying homicidal psychotics driven insane by a pulpy cocktail of sexual desire, emotional trauma, and socioeconomic anxiety wage open armed conflict in a major metropolitan area. This was bankrolled by a major studio and released to an eager public.
Sounds like another Tuesday.
It just sounds like another Tuesday.
No, yeah.
For Tim Burton, at least, yeah. Matt Singer, another Matt, writes, quote, that this Catwoman never got her own solo movie and Halle Berry's did is one of the great tragedies in Hollywood history. I believe they were gonna make a spin-off movie with Michelle Pfeiffer, and then that kind of languished in development hell for years, and that eventually became the Halle Berry movie.
She didn't want to do it, or it just...
I don't know the details. I'm sure we'll learn about that when we talk about Catwoman, but I think for whatever reason it ended up not happening.
Oh.
San, on Letterboxd, writes, quote, S-A-M, writes, quote, if Danny DeVito isn't the manic pixie dream girl of this movie, then I don't know who is.
Yes. Minus the times he's like strangely crude. He's so cute. He's like, I mean, he's scary looking, but like him as himself,
In terms of the legacy of this, so Warner Brothers decided to continue the series without Burton. They described him as too dark and odd for them. And they replaced him with the director Joel Schumacher. A rival studio executive said, quote, if you bring back Burton and Keaton, you're stuck with their vision. You can't expect Honey, I Shrunk the Batman. So we'll talk about the Joel Schumacher movies down the road. Warner Brothers was sued by executive producers Benjamin Melnicker and Michael Uslan, who alleged that they had originally purchased the film adaptation rights to the Batman character, but were denied their share of the profits from Batman and Batman Returns by the studio's Hollywood accounting. We talked about this last week, a method used by studios to artificially inflate a film's production's cost, making it appear unprofitable and limiting royalty or tax payments. the court decided in the studio's favor, citing a lack of evidence. So they never really got their slice of the cheddar, if you will. Although initially criticized for its mix of the superhero and film noir genres, the film established trends towards dark tones and complex characters, which have since become an expectation of many blockbusters. So it was influential in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't super successful at the time.
Yeah, no, for real.
I think actually someone wrote here that they're kind of like the Ramones of movies.
Shut the fuck. Which, like, I'm not bagging on the Ramones. I like the Ramones. It's just
ahead of their time.
It was just funny when that song came on, and I was just like, wow, these guys are so influential, but they're just singing about sniffing glue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not their only song, but like...
Well, AC/DC is saying, I've got big balls! I've got big balls!
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just like...
Some writers said that its disturbing imagery, exploration of morality, and satire of corporate politics seemed even more relevant in the present day, as did the themes of prejudice and feminism explored in Catwoman. So yeah, again, there is like this sense of it is a little ahead of its time in terms of wrestling with some of these, these issues.
I guess so. Weren't people doing that back then?
No, I know, but I'm saying it feels very relevant now, too. It still hasn't, fortunately or unfortunately, it hasn't changed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
According to The Ringer, which I think is like an online publication, Burton's weird and unsettling sequel enabled future auteurs such as Christopher Nolan, Peter Jackson, and Sam Raimi to move into mainstream films. I think that's true. I think Tim Burton did, because this is the last one that we're going to talk about that Burton directed. So we may as well kind of just say one little thing about Burton is that I think his career on the whole, not in like major ways, I think it could be attributed to a lot of different factors, especially like the independent film revolution of like the late 80s and the 90s, but I think Burton does deserve some credit in making mainstream movies a little weirder.
Yeah.
At least for a time.
And
I think it ebbs and flows. Where dark, a little bit willing to kind of just be like strange, you know? And I think Sam Raimi's a great example, right? Because he's also a horror director that transitioned into super, because he did the Evil Dead movies and then did Spider-Man, right? So that's like, I think, a great example. Actually, same with Peter Jackson, because one of his first films was like this weird, gross horror movie, and then he did the Lord of the Rings. So, I think Burton does deserve some credit in kind of opening the door for other straight white male directors. You know, they had never got their chance to shine in the industry. He really made it possible for them.
It's always the straight and narrow white men. Now it's the weird white men, which
If Viviana touched her garbage, right before this she housed some Reese's peanut butter cups.
Okay, you don't have to shout about it. Jeez. No, yeah, but I mean, like I have said before, like I like Tim and I like his work, so, you know, he is very influential, both just like culturally, but also like, you know, individually. And
to this day, you know, I don't think he's really made, like, I think his best films are behind him, but I mean, what's the, with Wednesday, like the Addams Family show? I think he, like, produced that, right?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so I think he's very much involved with that. In fact, I think because of that, I think they're finally going to make a Beetlejuice 2. And Jenna Ortega, I think, is going to be in it, right? So I think,
interesting.
And I think Michael Keane's going to return as Beetlejuice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even though he's old. Interesting.
He was already 800 years old anyway, so. What's 830?
802.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
So I'm saying, so he still kind of has some influence, I think.
No, yeah.
He's still kind of...
Yeah, kind of like...
His most recent film was, like, the Dumbo movie.
No, was it?
The live-action Dumbo.
Oh, that's what... I did not want to see that at all. It just looked...
Let me see. Yeah, what's the last movie he
really
directed?
Fucking creepy, like... I don't know. It just looks weird. I don't like any of the like live action, like weird CGI animal movies. But no, yeah. I mean, he's pretty memorialized in the fact that, you know, like there's like a whole genre. You know, I think he kind of opened the door.
That's a good point.
He kind of opened the door for us emo kids to, you know, really be to have some movies.
He's the reason Hot Topic exists. With all the fucking Jack Skellington merch.
Yes, oh my god, especially, I know Henry, or Harry, whatever, Henry.
Henry Selick.
But, you know, especially Tim, you know, and...
It's still his brainchild.
Yeah,
still,
yeah. Yeah, weird shit, yeah. And, you know, like, in the Blink-182 song, you know, it's like...
Yes.
Live down in the valley, you can live like Jack and Sally, you know, so he's...
And we'll have Halloween on Christmas. Yeah.
Yes, and he's touched every form of media and culture.
Your kids have touched me. And I'm pretty sure I've touched them.
Ew.
From School of Rock.
Oh.
Anyway. Viviana, favorite part? Scene, actor, character, line. What was your favorite part?
I'm gonna say
Nipples.
Nipples! No! I'm gonna say Penguin, because I just think it's funny that little Danny DeVito is riding in a little rubber ducky boat, and he's friends with clowns who are actually, like, very, like, smart and sophisticated mechanical engineers who turned the Batmobile into, like, a bomb slash...
They put a thing in it so that, like, Penguin could control...
Yeah, being able to take it over.
Because Penguin's sitting on, like, almost like an arcade
that was
car
so
ride.
Silly.
And he's controlling the Batmobile?
Like, he just walks into this fucking trailer. I'm like, why is there, like, a fucking trailer just on the side of the street? And he goes in, and it's like a 50 cent, you know, like, you pay to ride, like, little thing. Like, yeah. And it's just like, I got you, Batman. The stupid people of Gotham. And the fucking trailer's shaking, like, you know, that's what they do when people are having sex. And,
yes, classic.
Silly.
Hoochie Mama.
Hoochie Mama.
Yeah.
Who's a Hoochie Mama? Okay.
No, I'm thinking of the thing in Seinfeld when they find them having sex in the woods in the camper. And it's kind of rotating back and forth. He's like, don't open it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hoochie Mama!
I think I'm going to say, I think my favorite part is the dynamic between Batman and Catwoman. I think there's still a lot more that they could have done to flesh it out. But I think what's there is an interesting foundation to go off of that would have been interesting to explore in, like, another draft of the script. Mm-hmm. But I really like that scene, like, when they... Like, we were joking about, like, the scene where she licks his face. Like that scene... Not just that part, but, like, that scene is good because there's, like, pretty good fight scene between the two of them, and, like, they have this back and forth, and, like, they're a good match. Mm-hmm. They're fun to watch interact, so.
And they even incorporate, you know how you always talk about how Spider-Man before the suit, but after the powers?
Yes, when I wear big hoodies, I like to say I'm Spider-Man before he gets a suit, but after he gets his powers.
Yes. So I think they also incorporate that with Catwoman, how she's, like, always losing her, like, little claws.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, like, an interesting thing, you know, and then also making because she sewed it herself, so it has, like, the stitching and whatnot.
Yeah, I do like her costume a lot.
Yeah, I think.
She looks like a dominatrix.
I think there's some good attention to detail.
Oh, I got a report back. So 2 seasons ago in our Indiana Jones season.
Sure.
We talked about Temple of Doom. And one of the trivia points was that, as a prank on Harrison Ford, one of the takes was Barbara Streisand coming on set in, like, a black leather dominatrix outfit and whipping Harrison Ford. And I was like, who knows if this is true as IMDb? I think I sent it to you. Someone found the clip. It's, like, really shitty quality, but it's true. It's Barbara Streisand.
That's so strange.
So
Hollywood,
when you hear a crazy
strange.
IMDb trivia that I spew on this, it could be true. I hope it's true.
I still appreciate the Hugh Jackman cold shower one. Trying not to wake his wife.
He's like, oh! Yeah. All right, Viviana. 1 out of 10. 1 to 10. What are you rating? I realize I've been saying 1 out of 10, but I mean to say 1 to 10. Yeah, 1 out of 10. Is that what you give it? 1 to 10. What are you giving this movie?
I don't know. Maybe like a 6 or 7. What did I give the last one?
You gave the last one 7. Well, I guess here's a good question. Do you like this one more than the last one, or? Because if you do, then it would definitely not be a 6. Because you gave the other one a 7, so.
Blah.
This is great.
Why don't you start talking? Because, okay, I think I'm going to give it a 7, but now I have to decide which one's on top. Actually,
Okay.
You know what? I think the first one's on top.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, sure. We'll put the first one on top.
Which one would you rather watch?
I think this one, but the first one is better.
Which do you like more? This is all subjective. What do you like more?
In terms of what?
In terms of like.
In terms of like.
You know, the unit of like. 7 like.
Is that the same as Calvin?
You mean Kelvin?
Calvin.
Calvin. And Hobbes. Which would you rather watch? This is your own personal ranking. Don't worry about, like, objectively, you know, I think... Well, which you prefer?
Okay, fine. I'll put this one above, but I think objectively the other one is
but it's a 7.
Better. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was going to do 3.5 on Letterboxd.
Which is a 7.
Yeah, I think that's what I give it.
Okay. I think I am going to give it a... I think I'm going to give it a 6. Mm-hmm. Again, I still think it's still okay. It's not something I really love or like all that much. I think it's a net positive, but it's not something I really want to revisit. If I'm comparing this with the other one, though, I think I like this one a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I think the other one had higher highs but lower lows, whereas this one's a little bit more consistently entertaining.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
There's definitely like more to it because there's not just the one villain.
Yeah. There's like a lot of stuff going on. You get 2 villains for the price of 1. And again, there's like a little bit more interesting character work being done with Batman and Catwoman, albeit a little thin, but it's still something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have different scores, but so far our rankings of these 5 films are exactly the same. So far.
Yeah.
5. We of these first 5.
And you know, look, I'm looking at Tim's movies right now, and like, I would say like I like most of them, but now that I think about them, they're like okay, like maybe a little bit above okay, but like I think it's like his approach to the genre that really makes it.
He's a singular voice.
Yeah, he's a real. What is it called?
An auteur.
An auteur. Yeah, when it's like they do everything.
No, it's not that they do everything. It's
not
just
do
like,
everything, but the conception.
You really feel they're really the author of the film.
Tarantino-y, yes.
They're the author of the film in a way.
Yes, Tarantino.
Okay, well, my computer's about to die. It's at 6%. So that's it for this week's episode of Now That's What I Call a Franchise. Next week, we'll be watching the next film in the franchise, the 1993 film Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. Viviana, where can they find us?
I'm glad you said that because I wouldn't be able to.
Mask of the Orgasm.
No. You guys can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Franchise Podcast.
Why do you always say that like you have more to say?
I don't know.
It annoys me. You're like, at Franchise Podcast.
And then you're supposed to jump in, but
we know you have many podcasting options, and we thank you for choosing us. Peace out, guys.
As the little boy outside my window said earlier, he said, oh, what did he say? Let's, or no, he said,
what?
He said, later, alligator. See you later, alligator. He said, hola, senor. See you later, alligator.
Hola is hello. Not goodbye.
Oh, no, adios. He said adios, senor. See you later, alligator.
Goodbye.
That's what I say to you.